Hey everybody, what's going on? And I want to talk about something that's been hitting the news the last couple days and over the last couple months as well. There's a lot of buzz going on about a possible Guns N' Roses reunion, and there's been more and more news dripping out over the past couple days, sort of pointing in the direction that we're going to see an announcement January 5th, largely because January 5th is when I believe Coachella announces who the rest of the headliners are for their festival. And, it's funny, this whole thing started back in August of this year when Slash was doing an interview with some Swedish journalist. And the interview seems very phony, and the way they edited it seems kind of questionable. But he basically said that him and Axl have sort of buried the hatchet and things are sort of like better than they used to be. And, when I heard that interview, I thought that it just meant that from a licensing point of view and a business point of view, things are a little more smoothly. They don't necessarily talk to one another, but they don't have the same kind of issues they had before. Was best exemplified by the past. Anytime Slash wanted to release anything that needed Axl's permission, they usually wouldn't be able to release it, and vice versa. And then we had Axl and Guns N' Roses release Appetite for Democracy, this DVD they filmed in Vegas during the residency, and apparently Slash signed off on it. And then I believe Slash did a concert at the Roxy where they had to use some GNR music. Axl signed off on it. A lot of people speculate that Duff returning to Guns N' Roses for a short tour probably had something to do with mending the fences between both Slash and Axl, and I sort of agree with that too. And I think, too, what also helped fuel the rumors is that two of Axl's guitarists, DJ Ashba and Bumblefoot, both left the band earlier this year, and it sort of, paved the way for possibly for Slash to return and possibly do some reunion dates with GNR. But a lot of the news that had been coming out back in October and November just seemed like wishful thinking. There was nothing concrete that pointed that this band was going to reunite and go on a tour. But there's been some really interesting stuff that's been happening the last couple days, and I want to go through it right now and talk about what this could mean for Rock Band 4 and any future DLC we have. We also had Del James, who wrote the story that the song November Rain is based off of. He is Guns N' Roses tour manager, and he and Slash, ever since the band broke up back in the 90s, didn't really, at least he didn't speak so highly about Slash, and he sort of dissed him in a lot of interviews. And then out of nowhere this year, he wished him a happy birthday on Twitter, and people sort of took this to be, well, it could mean that things are obviously getting better between the former band members. And then earlier this week, a lot of fans of the Star Wars movie who went to Regal Cinema, which I guess is it's a chain of theaters in the U.S. We don't have it here in Canada, as far as I know. They noticed that during the trailers for the movies, at the beginning of the film, there was this weird promo that showed a crowd and a live version of Welcome to the Jungle being played in the background. And then there was no explanation given as to what that trailer was for. If you guys want to see the trailer, I've put a link to it in the description box below. A lot of people think it's them readying for an announcement for a reunion. And one person even noticed that one of the crowd shots is actually taken from the last show that Slash and Axl played together back in July of 1993 in Argentina, which I got to say that's some pretty good attention to detail that guy must have if he's correct. The other piece of news that we got an announcement for a couple weeks ago is that Guns N' Roses would be releasing an online slot machine, which would only feature the three original main members. So it would feature Axl, Duff, and Slash, and it featured some old Guns N' Roses song, and I believe a song off Chinese Democracy as well. So a lot of people were like thinking, because Axl's big issue with Slash and Duff is that he didn't want to promote the old band in any particular way. That's why he didn't want Slash using Guns N' Roses stuff without his permission. And that's sort of one of the reasons why he sued Activision over the use of Welcome to the Jungle and Guitar Hero. He felt that, Slash being in the game and Welcome to the Jungle being in the game, he didn't want people to draw a parallel between Slash being in Guns N' Roses and Welcome to the Jungle being in the game. It's all very convoluted, and Axl's explanations for a lot of stuff are often very confusing and make no sense. The other thing that's led a lot of people to think that a reunion will be happening is that no members have really just come out and flatly denied it. Nobody's come out and said there's no reunion, stop talking about it. Everybody's been very silent, even people like Steven Adler, which I find really strange because usually he's very vocal about a reunion. My guess is if there's a reunion, a lot of people have been saying that it'll feature old members and new members. I probably agree with that. It'll feature Duff, Slash, and Axl, and then possibly Frank on drums, and then Richard Fortus on guitar, which interestingly enough, Slash actually wanted Richard Fortus to be in his solo band he's touring with right now. And I think you may see Izzy come out for play a couple shows or a couple songs on stage. You may see Matt Sorum. You may even see Steven Adler play drums on a few songs as well. I feel like they've worked out some arrangement that's going to allow all the members who played in the band to actually show up on stage and perform at one point or another. And I think Gilby could be one of those people as well. The one thing that's left me scratching my head is if you've read Slash's book, or if you knew Guns N' Roses back in the day, they were notorious for showing up 3 hours late to a concert, or sometimes 4 hours late. And, I don't know if you guys know how these concerts work, but like you get heavily fined if you play past a certain time, if you play past a certain curfew, you have to pay overtime dues, and that stuff can add up. Like Guns N' Roses made no money on their Use Your Illusion tours because they kept going on stage 2 to 3 hours late. Axl would often walk off stage. And it makes me wonder, like, why would the original members want to put up with that? They must have something in their contract. There must be ironclad that stops the same kind of things that happen on the Use Your Illusion tour from happening on any kind of reunion tour they'd be doing. I think a large reason why Slash has maybe mended fences with Axl, if it is true, this story, is largely because he's going through a divorce, and divorces are not cheap. He's probably paying a lot of money, and he never had a prenup with his second wife. So I think that's a large part of why Slash has probably mended the fences with Axl. That's just my speculation. But somebody who's a huge Guns N' Roses fan, and if you guys have been watching my channel, you'll know they're my favorite band of all time. I don't know how I feel about a reunion. Just seeing Axl's performances in 2014, like his voice is not what he used to be, and it's kind of weird. He goes through these transition periods. Like 2002, his voice was absolute shit, but then like 2010, his voice was really good, and then 2014, it sucked. And I think it probably has to do with how well he takes care of himself, whether he's probably doing vocal lessons or vocal coaching or exercises. You guys go watch any of those Use Your Illusion full concerts that are available on YouTube. Like I don't know if the current band, if they were to reunite, could actually ever be able to recreate that kind of energy and chemistry that that old band had. And I'm hopeful that if they do reunite, I would still go see them for sure in concert. Now this leads me to my next question: because if they do reunite, does this mean that all the licensing issues that barred Guns N' Roses from ever coming to Rock Band would be resolved? I mean, we did have Chinese Democracy, but to me, that's not Guns N' Roses. I want the classic stuff like a lot of people want. We know from Harmonix that Appetite for Destruction is one of the most requested pieces of DLC of all time. And I have a feeling that if there is, in fact, a reunion going on, that Harmonix is right now talking to Guns N' Roses about doing some sort of promo. They obviously do have a line of communication with Axl since they did release Chinese Democracy. They did release Shackler's Revenge, which came out on Rock Band 2 before it even came out on the album, which debuted a couple months later. And I'm hopeful that if there is an announcement that we may in fact see some Guns N' Roses in January being released, or sometime whenever the reunion tour would start, just as a way to kick it off and promote it. That's my thoughts on it. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think a reunion is really likely? And do you think this could mean we would maybe see some Guns N' Roses DLC in Rock Band 4 finally? Comment in the section below. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe for the latest rhythm gaming news. Take care.